Welcome to the BrightInsight Digital Health C-Suite Series. I'm Chitra Nawbatt. Joining us today is Stuart Kamin of Claritas Rx. Stuart, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your company and its top priorities.
Great. Well, at Claritas Rx, for more than 10 years, we've been dedicated to using data and analytics to help patients have a better experience on specialty and rare disease and cell and gene therapies. Our platform integrates a broad array of commercial and patient-level data and uses domain-driven analytics and machine learning to mine the data and identify rich, actionable insights about the patient experience and brand performance on a daily basis.
There's a lot of companies out there that use similar terminology, even Google and the large text, for example. So bring it to life for us, specifically in terms of where you guys begin, where you end, how it works.
Yeah, great question. We, I think, are most differentiated because of our people. We come out of the life sciences space and we understand not only the questions that biotech companies have, but analytically how to answer them. The data that is the backbone for our platform really comes alive once a patient is prescribed one of these treatments. A lot of data and analysis in the space focuses on finding the next prescription, on helping the sales team and the marketing team achieve their commercial objectives. That's important for us too. But where we find there's a big unmet need around data and analysis is after the patient is prescribed, helping make sure that every patient that is appropriate for treatment gets on treatment and stays on as is appropriate. And I think we're have a suite of solutions that's quite differentiated in that way, not only by creating visibility into those patients who are blocked from treatment and helping them to get on through creating new knowledge, but actually having sort of tools and partnerships with digital solutions like BrightInsight to actualize that insight, to enable interventions at the right time to help patients in the real world.
Well, you just talked about BrightInsight. How do you partner with BrightInsight, and what are some of the specific outcomes you drive together?
Yeah, great. We are really excited about collaborations that we're doing with BrightInsight and other digital tools to help measure the impact that they're actually having on patients in the real world. I think it's been well documented that barriers to access and treatment are devastating for patients and cost the US healthcare system billions of dollars a year. And actors across the system know this. They have very sophisticated programs for supporting patients, for helping them transcend those barriers with many different components, from provider services to affordability. And digital is playing an increasingly important role in that. What we find to be a big barrier to more adoption of digital solutions is simply the ability to prove that they work, to prove their effectiveness in the real world. As you can imagine, patient services teams have invested significantly in creating very elaborate and sophisticated programs. And if you could show in the data that a digital tool really moved the needle, really helped to get more patients on drug or keep them on drug, it would help those teams justify further adoption of these tools and integration into these larger ecosystems because you would know where they fit well. The challenge is a lot of that data for doing that measurement has not existed in the past. It's been very limited, and that makes this sort of scientific approach to integrating these digital tools difficult. If there's no data, there's no ability to figure out what actually works. Well, now Claritas Rx has created a new, unique data set that sheds new light into components of the patient journey that have historically been very difficult to see in traditional data sources like syndicated claims. And we're using that data set to benchmark what good looks like for market access and patient services teams. And so it's a very natural way for us to be collaborating with BrightInsight, for example, to show how they impact patients relative to controls and to prove quantitatively that they can have these sorts of digital tools can have a very material impact on patients.
But you just talked about the hesitancy, the reluctance, right, by large pharmaceutical companies to engage in this way, which is lack of proof. Show me that it works, right? And that's a big flag, frankly, for a lot of tech companies, whether it's a tech company, data AI company, promise all of this wonderful stuff and it doesn't happen, or the time to accomplish it is much longer. So how does that head of digital, head of IT, head of commercial, whoever that buyer is, how do they know that what you or you and BrightInsight are doing together, that it's actually going to work and that it's real?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think ultimately it does come down to the ability to show it in the numbers. I think it has a lot to do with the sort of data that you're looking at, how you create a robust, essentially synthetic control for a tool like a BrightInsight. There are a variety of ways to measure the impact of these tools, and we've done this for a variety of interventions to date and have shown that for particular patient populations, over a particular period of time, you can see a material improvement in outcomes like fill rate, speed to therapy, adherence. And that does, I think, lower the barrier to what you have to believe to adopt one of these tools. And it, I think, will only increase in the future, where the array of available tools and their ability to impact the patient experience will just grow, and people will want to take a more quantitative approach to optimizing their patient services programs.
What's the digital health trend that will dominate market opportunity this year?
You know, in our space, with respect to helping patients and making sure that patients sort of stay on product as intended, I think you can look at a couple of key trends. One is increasing focus on precision, personalization. We hear a lot about precision medicine, personalized medicine, which is exemplified by the wave of rare disease therapies and cell and gene therapies. And in that space, there are barriers beyond, insurance and affordability questions. Patients and caregivers often have to face really daunting logistics, getting them to the site of care, helping them stay on track for what can be a very sort of complicated experience. And digital tools, I think, are nicely positioned to support the cell and gene space as it continues to evolve, with helping vulnerable patients and their caregivers know what benefits are available to them, and making sure that they get to that treatment event. Another trend that will be very interesting to watch, is very material for this year, is a wave of biosimilars that we expect to launch in more legacy classes, increasing the number of alternative therapies that are available that are sort of similar clinically. And there, I think, these sorts of digital tools are nicely positioned potentially to create differentiators, to help these brands stand out among others if they can be well coordinated with other patient services options. So a couple of key trends, I think, to look at in 23.
Stuart, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.